Hello, Skip. Here's your brake booster on the brake booster test machine. And let's see, it looks a little bit better. You can see the power brake testing machine. Actual 1950s machine that I restored, found in a warehouse and restored. It's a very cool machine, actually. You might like to see back there. Gauges I restored. Anyway, this is the holding tank for the brake fluid. Anyway, we're going to test your booster. What we're going to do is look for, this is our what's called the constant vacuum, and that's the one that's going to be up to 19, 20, 21 inches all the time, until the booster is activated. And you'll see it drop down to 0 and then it'll recover. And this vacuum gauge goes to 19, 20, 21 inches, and a large part of that has to do with my vacuum pump and also the vacuum connections. And then once the booster is activated, the more the booster is activated, the closer this gets to 0, and then when the booster is totally in use, that goes all the way to 0. Over here we've got our hydraulics. This is input, and what you're going to see here is this gauge goes all the way, it maxes out. Then this gauge goes up to our full input pressure, which is me working the master cylinder. It's a hand-operated master cylinder essentially. And our output is measured by these two gauges here. And what you're going to see is this gauge will max out, and then this gauge will show final boost pressure. And this is a 2-to-1 boost ratio. So if you see 350 here, you'll see about 700 here. But in reality, the booster will put out more. The master cylinder would put out more than that, and so we'll see higher boost here. And this is the valve that controls the hydraulic input. And here we go. Now we got our valve tightened down, and we're gonna do some pressure. There's our pressure, it's almost 900. Now we will release, and you can see what happens over here in the gauges as we activate the booster. We're at 0 on that gauge. We're recovering over here on the left, and you can see we are at pressure here. Now, next thing we do is look all around the booster to make sure we are not leaking anywhere. Because with that kind of, we got 900 psi captive in here, and if there's any problems, we're going to see it in terms of leaks. And I've done this multiple times so far. Our biggest problem is going to be leaking around here. And so far, so good. Just see a little moisture in there, but that's from hooking up my test fittings because they drip. Okay, our bleed screw does not index all the way at the top. It's a little bit off, but that's where it's sealed up. Have no choice in that regard. And you don't need to use this bleed screw when you're bleeding the booster. Just use this one here. That one doesn't do any good, because by the time you got fluid in here, that's already bled. So just use this one for bleeding purposes. That would be your last fitting to bleed anyway. Got a good booster. So after you bleed your right rear, your left rear, your right front, your left front, and bleed the booster. Actually, bleed the booster first when you're bleeding the system, then do all 4 wheels as I described, and then come back and do your booster last, and that should take care of any residual bubbles of air in the system. You should be good to go. Thank you, sir.